Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is getting extremely close to a break to the downside, while Ethereum is forming a new pattern which could change everything. And on top of that, Solana is once again repeating history, which I'll talk about later in the video, so make sure to watch to the end. First of all, just giving you a really quick update here on the daily Bitcoin chart, and right now the price of Bitcoin is still playing out this bearish divergence on the daily time frame, because at least as of right now, we have not seen any new higher high confirm in either the candle closes or in the RSI. And so once again, this bearish divergence simply means we're due to see reduced bullish momentum on the daily chart, which can play out in the form of either choppy sideways price action or potentially a bit of a pullback in the price of Bitcoin. But staying on the daily time frame, taking a look at the DXY, at least for now, the US dollar index is still trending to the downside, which is technically a bullish signal for Bitcoin in terms of the trend on the daily time frame. But remember, during a bullish trend here on the daily chart, of course, we can see short-term bearish moves here and there, especially on smaller time frames. And of course, we can see sideways consolidations during a bullish trend, like what we've seen over the last couple of weeks as a result of that bearish divergence. And so basically, right now on the daily chart, technically, we have not yet reversed out of the bullish trend into a new bearish trend. So technically, in terms of the trend, we are still bullish. It's just at the moment in the somewhat short term here, we're taking a bit of a pause from the bullish trend, but have not necessarily confirmed a trend reversal. And if we're taking a look at the 8-hour Bitcoin chart, right now the price of Bitcoin is extremely close to a break to the downside from this ascending line of support right here. And this line of support is sitting at approximately 42.6k. And so basically, if we see a candle close below 42.6k, like for example, an 8-hour or 12-hour candle close below that line of support right there, then that would be one initial confirmation signal confirming the break to the downside for this ascending triangle pattern. And so in that case, if we do end up confirming this break to the downside below that line of support, then in that case, that would set up a bearish price target for this pattern, which would be sitting at roughly around $38,000. And so from where we are right now at this line of support to that price target, that's roughly around a 10% move to the downside if this break to the downside confirms. But of course, we do have some support in between the break and the price target. Of course, this area right here should be acting as support in between around 40.5k going up towards around 41k. That area right there, once again, it should be acting as a bit of short-term support. But if we break below those lows just there, the next support does not come into play until all the way down towards around 38,000, right where that price target is sitting at, and also based on previous resistance acting as new support. And so as of right now, at the time of recording this video, I've not yet entered a trade because we have not yet officially confirmed the break to the downside, at least as of right now. But once we see some initial confirmation confirming that break to the downside, then personally, I will be looking to enter a short position to trade this move to the downside. And in that scenario, the point of invalidation would be if we saw a break to the downside and then a break back above this line of support, so back above around 42.6k, that would invalidate the break to the downside and invalidate the price target. And so, of course, if I enter this short position, once we actually see some confirmation confirming a break to the downside, once I enter that short position, of course, I'll place my stop loss just above the point of invalidation in case we see a quick reversal. Obviously, I would avoid any further losses if we invalidate the break to the downside using a stop loss. And as for take profits for this potential short position right here, if I enter this short position, I will take some profits off the table around these lows just here, where I mentioned we should be expecting some support, because of course, at an area of support, it's possible the price could bounce at that area. And so due to that reason, once again, in this case, if I enter this short position, once we see confirmation, I will take some profits around that area of support, but I will not close the entire trade at that area. Of course, I'll just take some profits, but keep the remainder of the trade open in case we continue towards the price target. But once again, at least for now, I have not yet entered a short position because we have not yet seen any confirmation of a break to the downside. And as always, the more confirmation, the better. So for example, if we just see one candle close slightly below support, of course, that could be just enough confirmation to enter a small trade. But personally, based on a small amount of confirmation like that, I'll not go very heavy into a trade like that. And essentially, once we see more confirmation, that is where I add to the position. So for example, if we see more candle closes below support, or for example, if we come back up for a retest and actually reject from that previous support to confirm it as new resistance, then in that case, I'll use a possible retest to simply add to the short position. And just as an example, with a 10% move like this, if this move actually completes with a 10x leverage trade, that's a 100% 100% profit. So basically doubling your money, even if the price is going down, whether it's going down or up, you can basically use this move to double your money. And in case you're wondering, personally, I take these trades over on Bybit, and so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bybit in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And in fact, if you use that link down below this video to make a Bybit account, you can get up to a $30,000 deposit bonus, but without that link, it's only a few $1,000s, so you might as well use that link down below this video if you're setting up a Bybit account. But for whatever reason, if you could not access Bybit or if you could not KYC on Bybit, there is also Bitflex, which is another crypto exchange similar to Bybit, but you don't need KYC for Bitflex. And so I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bitflex in the description down below and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link to make a Bitflex account and deposit $100 worth of crypto and make one trade over on Bitflex, you can get 10 USDT completely for free. And so if you're trading crypto anyway, or if you're preparing to take this next trade, you might as well get set up ready to go on one of those exchanges using those links down below this video if you want to get those extra bonuses. But anyway, zooming into the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, and just recently we have actually broken below this area of support, sitting in between around 43,000 going up towards around 43.4k approximately. And obviously just in the short term here on the smaller time frames, that was a fairly significant area of support, which was previous supports back here and also previous resistance. And so now that the price of Bitcoin is breaking below that area of support, it's possible Bitcoin could be repeating history like what we saw back here. Obviously we broke below that area of support and we actually continued further to the downside towards this area of support. And this support is sitting in between around 40,500 going up towards around 41k, as I said earlier. And if we're paying attention to the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI here on the smaller time frames, as I've been saying over the last few days, the RSI is showing signs of weakness in the short term. Because back up here, when the price was looking relatively neutral in this choppy sideways price action, I mentioned all the way back up here that the RSI was beginning a downtrend on smaller time frames. And once again, that's typically a sign of weakness in the short term for the price of Bitcoin, like what we saw back here. Obviously, the RSI began a trend to the downside before the price actually broke below this support. And so once again, the RSI proved to be a leading indicator for this bearish move right here. And so at least in the immediate short term right now, we are looking slightly more bearish than bullish. But on the 8-hour chart, we're still waiting to see confirmation of a break of one of these levels. Once again, we have not confirmed a break below this support on the 8-hour chart, at least as of right now. But either way, here on the daily chart, once again, all of this is still currently occurring within the bullish trend on the daily time frame. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates, as I've said in recent videos here on the channel, this is a potential sign of caution that we need to pay attention to, because right now, as of recording this video, most of these funding rates for a lot of different coins and exchanges, most of these funding rates are very positive. They are very much above their neutral rate. And what that actually means for the price of Bitcoin and other crypto assets is essentially right now there's a lot of people trying to long the price of Bitcoin and other crypto assets to the point where there's a massive premium to actually long those assets. So essentially the long positions out there are having to pay these very high funding rates to the short positions. And so essentially right now, considering how high the funding rates are, even if the market is trading completely flat, the long positions are losing money while the short positions are actually making money if the price is completely flat due to these funding rates. And so due to that being the case, of course, the longs really need to see the price go to the upside sometime soon. Otherwise, if the price of Bitcoin continues trading sideways or even going to the downside, obviously that means the longs are losing and the shorts are gaining, even if we're going sideways. And so like I said in my last video, that could be a potential catalyst to result in long positions closing and short positions opening, which adds selling pressure to the market. And now this, of course, does not necessarily guarantee with 100% certainty that we're definitely going to see a lot of bearish price action, because also we do usually see higher than normal funding rates during bull markets. But with that being said, when funding rates are this high, it is quite healthy to see a bit of a reset in the market before continuing higher later on. But anyway, getting into the Ethereum part of this video, this is on the daily time frame, and right now, just like Bitcoin on the daily chart, this bearish divergence is still currently active. And like I've been saying almost every day over the last 2 weeks or so, this bearish divergence means we're due to see reduced bullish momentum, which can play out in the form of either choppy sideways price action, if not a pullback in the price of ETH, which basically has been playing out as expected over the last few weeks, mostly in the form of choppy sideways price action. But remember, this bearish bearish divergence does not necessarily confirm a bearish trend reversal. Once again, it can just mean a short-term break from the bullish trend, basically a pause before potentially continuing the bullish trend later on. And if we're taking a look at the 8-hour ETH to US dollar chart, looking at this falling wedge pattern, it's pretty much safe to say at this point that the falling wedge is now invalidated. Because obviously we saw the initial breakout to the upside, which I did actually long here on the channel. I entered a long position right around here and closed out of that long position right around here, which I shared on this channel and over on my Twitter. And the reason behind me closing my long position right around here rather than waiting to hit the full technical price targets was simply due to very high funding rates, and also the price was running into a bit of short-term resistance. And so obviously in hindsight, that turned out to be a very good move to make, because since then the price has retraced in the short term. And in fact, right now the price is sitting basically at around the point of the breakout. And usually if we break back below the point of the breakout, that essentially invalidates the pattern. And this move right here is really too big for a retest. If the pattern is remaining to be confirmed, of course, we usually see a retest fairly quick after the breakout and a fairly small retest like that. Whereas this type of price structure right here, where the breakout basically halfway complete and then we see a giant move back to the downside, typically that retest does not often play out successfully. And so that's why I said earlier, once again, it's pretty much safe to say at this point right here that the price has now invalidated the breakout for this falling wedge, which means the price target for this falling wedge is also now invalidated. But while we're here on the 8-hour ETH to US dollar charts, there's a potential new pattern forming right now, which is a possible inverse head and shoulders pattern. And I did mention this possible pattern forming a couple of days ago now on the channel, right around back here, but I mentioned back then that we still need to see a right shoulder form with a pullback in the short term, and obviously since then we have now seen that pullback. But what we now need to see in order to actually confirm the inverse head and shoulders pattern is a bounce back to the upside sometime over the next few days, and then a breakout above this level right here, which is sitting at around 23.30. And so basically over the next few days, if we see a bounce in the price of ETH and a breakout above that level, that would confirm this inverse head and shoulders pattern and confirm a bullish price target. But at least as of right now, with the price still back down here, of course, right now, this potential inverse head and shoulders pattern, even though it's potentially forming, it is not yet confirmed, because once again, we still need to actually confirm a breakout above this level right here, which has not yet happened. And so at least for now, this is just something to be aware of, something to pay attention to, but nothing to act on right now, because it is not yet confirmed. And if we're taking a look at a smaller time frame, looking at the 4-hour ETH to US dollar chart, I did mention in my last video, we are potentially forming a bullish flag pattern here, but right now, unless we see a bounce very soon, this potential bull flag pattern could also invalidate the formation phase, but obviously it never actually confirmed to begin with, because we did not see a confirmed breakout above resistance. And so once again, with these unconfirmed patterns, they are nothing to act on, they're just something to pay attention to in case they do end up confirming. But right now, the price of ETH is basically within a larger sideways price range in between this area of support and this area of resistance. First of all, this area of support is sitting in between around 21.30 going up towards around 21.60, and this area of resistance, which is why I closed the long position right around here, this area of resistance is sitting in between around 23.10 going up towards around 23.30. And so at least for now, in the somewhat short term, we're basically chopping around sideways within this giant sideways price range right here as a result of that bearish divergence here on the daily time frame. But believe it or not, you can make a lot of easy money in a sideways price range just like this. And if you want to know how to do that, then stick around to the end of this video to find out more. But first, taking a quick look at the Solana to US dollar chart on the 3-day time frame, and right now the price of Solana has seen a rejection from this significant area of resistance. And of course, this is something that I warned about recently on the channel. Once again, since all the way back down here at the golden pocket, I said if we break out above $77, expect a quick move up towards around $120. But as I've been saying, since all the way back down here, we should be expecting resistance at around $120 and also at around $140. And so, like I said in my last video, that's really the final significant area of resistance between the current price and the all-time high. But as I also said in my last video, I would not be surprised at all if we end up seeing a rejection or at least a slowdown in the price of Solana around that area of resistance, which right now we are now seeing. But remember, even if we see a short-term pullback of some sort, we could potentially just form a new higher low in the price of Solana here on the 3-day chart. So in terms of the larger trend at play, technically we are still bullish even if we do see a short-term pullback. But if we're taking a look at a smaller time frame, that is where we can start looking at some more bearish price action, like for example here on the 4-hour chart, we have now confirmed a new bearish divergence pattern. And the last bearish divergence pattern that actually played out here on the 4-hour time frame was right back here at that previous golden pocket Fibonacci level of resistance. And so right now, once again, the price is running into significant resistance, seeing a rejection from that resistance, like what we saw at around the golden pocket. And we're also seeing a bearish divergence in the short term, like what we also saw back then. And if we're simply taking a look at the outcome of that previous bearish divergence, obviously we did end up seeing a pullback over the next few days. In fact, that was around a 15% pullback over the next 3 days or so. And so once again, at least in the short term here, due to this bearish divergence now playing out, and with the price very much overheated very recently and getting a rejection from major resistance, once again, I would not be surprised if at the very least we see a slowdown in the price, or potentially more likely a bit of a pullback in the price. But remember, even if we see a short-term pullback, of course, we can be bearish on smaller time frames, but remain within the larger bullish trend. And if you want to know how you can profit from bullish price action, bearish price action, or if the price is simply chopping around sideways, you can profit from all of those scenarios by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can long or short crypto to profit if the price is going up or down, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.